So, I mean, as you know, we all work in publishing, so, and our first love, or one of our loves, is books and the printed word. So the question is, what's gonna, especially now that the Kindle is making this deal for textbooks, which honestly, I feel like that's basically what's keeping a lot of publishing houses afloat is, you know, it's kind of like, you know, the universities and the libraries. So what's gonna happen, or what do you see happening with the printed word as we move forward?
Well, it has to shift. I mean, the business model has to shift. I mean, you know, we can keep trying to nail down everything and not let it change, and we're gonna die. Or we can see what's happening and figure out a business model that works. And I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but I do know it's probably, you know, vastly different than what it was, and is gonna take rebuilding. So I don't think there's any way to put the genie back in the bottle. I think that, and I wouldn't want to. I mean, think about, you know, a textbook that's updated as the world is updated. I mean, my kids are in middle school right now, and I am stunned at how archaic it is. I mean, everything from the way they teach to the way the school systems to the textbooks. And I feel like the tech people I meet are way more advanced in everything than the school people. Like, why not bring everybody up into the present and the future? We're holding them back by not.
How do you save your job these days? I mean, what's if the industry's going down, the printed word, like,
right.
I mean,
Here it is.
I worry for.
Yeah. You have to bring value, and I swear to God, I wake up every day and I think to myself, what value? I do believe I am bringing value, but if there's ever a day that I'm not bringing value, then I should go do something else. But the value that we bring is changing. So I think the old model doesn't work. And, you know, I do think, you know, so the value you might bring is knowing all these different platforms and teaching your authors how to do it, and or becoming a voice in the community and having people who listen to you, so that when you say, you know, read this book, it's amazing, your people listen to you. Or you say, you know, what color should this jacket be, pink or blue, they can respond to you. That's adding value for the authors. Or whether it's, you know, how to build the book differently, or you know what's happening next. I mean, the future is like in our hands. There's nobody else that's creating it. It's up to us to do it. Yes, Kelly.
Sometimes it might be helpful for people to start thinking about books less as a set object and more as it's the content and what's inside the cup between the covers. And the content is what's important, and how you deliver the content is what's going to change. So becoming very attached to the physical object of the book is what's going to hold people back. Books are always going to be wonderful things, but eventually, at some point down the line, they'll be collectibles.
I agree.
Building off that comment, I think there's also a perception that if you change the model, if it's no longer a physical book, there's a perception that all of a sudden the value is somehow less, and therefore the price is less. So how do you see revenue streams?
Yeah, it's interesting because, you
Can you
know,
repeat the question?
Okay, that when it's not a physical book, that when it's just content that's, you know, in the air, whether it's on your screen or on your iPhone or on your Kindle, it doesn't feel like it has value or the same value. And, you know, as a consumer, I have to say, I feel that way too. It doesn't, you know, I can't just pass my ebook on to Adam, like it's on my device. And I'm not even going to go into the whole DRM conversation, but it does feel like it has less value. I mean, I have to think really hard. Oh, am I going to pay $9.99 for a book? I'm like, this is crazy, because there's so much free stuff to read. I think that it has to, we really have to just break the mold and go back and start over and think of whether it's adding value in an ebook and building it differently, or whether, you know, it's making money off of speaking engagements. For instance, we were just talking the other day, and it wasn't even necessarily out of a conversation like this, but we just so happened to have amazing business authors in the winter. So we were thinking that we'd put on some kind of business symposium. We have, you know, 5 headlining authors, and we could charge, and have a book available for each one, and the music industry is already going there. They're making money off of concerts and ringtones and all the swag, and it's not necessarily off of the 99 cent songs. So I do think that no matter how much it hurts the brain to think about it, it has to be thought about, because as a consumer, I don't want to pay that much for. I mean, it also depends. I don't think there can be one price either. I mean, if it was something I really wanted on the first day, you could charge me $20 or whatever it is, and I would, and then change it a month later or two, whatever the market says to change it. I think the one price for all ebooks, I don't really believe in that.
I'm curious. It seems to me that what's sort of being left out of the picture a bit here is the marketing component, because you have the book, you have the content, and you have the device that you read it on. But reading a bunch of naked content is kind of like Project Gutenberg texts. If you don't know what it is, it's not very compelling. So I'm curious, what do you see as some of the directions to take? Because so much of book marketing now is the physical book, what the cover art looks like, how even down to the details of how the page trim is done, whether it's ragged or flat.
Right.
How can we work to bring that onto digital?
To me, more than anything, what makes me want to buy a book is when a friend tells me you have to read this book. Even more than the packaging and all that other stuff. That stuff could play a role, but I'm probably not going to buy it unless a friend tells me you have to read this book. And now with Twitter and Facebook and DailyLit and Shelfari and all these other ones, we have way more opportunity to do that. Like, it used to take however long to call your 10 friends and tell them, and now in one fell swoop you can tell 1,000 people. So I think that goes back to we should all be on Twitter, and we should all be, on all of these different applications and communicating about what we're passionate about.